Hey, it's Blastzone Mike, and today I'm very privileged and honored to be able to speak to Peter DiStefano from the band Porno for Pyros. And also, he's got a new film we're going to talk about too, which is a big project of his that he's been undergoing, right?
Yes.
So,
Thank you, Mike, for having me on.
no problem. Like I said, it's a privilege and honor, man. Um, I wasn't a big fan of that type of music until later in my life. I was a big glam fan, as you can tell by my wall behind me, Motley Crue and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I got older. Well, that's the way it was with all types of music, except for glam for me. I didn't, I didn't really respect Metallica or any bands like that until I got older. Did you ever see that in your life growing up? Did you?
100%. 100%. I used to I remember my older sister for Christmas brought me a Led Zeppelin record, and it was the live Led Zeppelin.
Hmm.
The song remains the same. And I went right to the record player. It was in the 70s, late 70s or early 80s. Um, and no, it was because I was 8 years old. So it was like 1973 or something. And
Hmm.
I ran, it was when it first came out, or 76 or whatever. It just had come out. And I ran to go listen to Stairway to Heaven. And I put it on, and because it wasn't exactly like the radio, I went and to my friend's house across the street and traded it for Ted Nugent, double live Gonzo, you know? And then later in life, Jimmy Page became like a god to me. But so that was, and there was music that I didn't like when I first heard it. And now it's grown on me, like jazz.
Yeah, I always say one of my favorite bands, and actually, I've got a signature right here on my arm, is Andrew Wood from Mother Love Bone.
Cool.
I'm a huge Mother Love Bone fan now, and
Nice.
back in the day, I had no clue who it was. I thought
Hmm.
grunge was evil because I grew up listening to glam, and the '80s, the end of the '80s. Glam was like, oh, nobody listens to that anymore, because
Yeah.
Nirvana came in. So
Hmm.
it's the same thing with my son. My son was like, he's 22 now. And he always liked Guns N' Roses and Kiss, but he hated the Beatles.
Hmm.
But now he loves the Beatles. And it's like, it's wild how we get older that our musical tastes change. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So when you were growing up and you're a guitar player, what was it that inspired you to be a guitar player and learn how to play guitar?
Well, my father sang and played guitar, and so it was when the house was the happiest, and he was throwing parties, and he just had such a powerful voice, and he wrote songs, and he was on the Lawrence Welk show, and also he there was a thing called The Rose Tattoo by Tennessee Williams. It was a play in Beverly Hills, and he would go on the weekends he was the music, like the score for it, the live score for the
Hmm.
play. So I grew up with it in my family, but he was a tailor, and then he did music for fun. And so that's how I got into it. And then I saw, the Beatles on TV, and just getting exposed to great music like the Doors and Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix from Friends and stuff like that. And I like any kind of music that's just real, when
Hmm.
people are real, and they're honest about whether they're happy, sad, angry, whatever. And it was like, wow, this is real. Like when I would listen to music like Creedence Clearwater Revival, or Peter Frampton. I learned about love with his love songs and stuff like that. And so it was music that was real, and so I just wanted to do something real. And so
Would you say that John Lennon as a solo artist was more impactful than the Beatles?
no, I Obviously, when you have John Lennon with the talent of Paul McCartney and the talent of George Harrison, and the talent and personality of Ringo, you have that energy. And then, but then I love My Sweet Lord from George Harrison on his solo stuff. And then I love, Imagine from Lennon, or his solo stuff too. And Paul McCartney's is incredible, Live and Let Die. And all of them. And then even Ringo's. I mean, they were definitely a super group.
Do you really consider Ringo part of the Beatles?
Excuse me?
Do you really consider Ringo part of the Beatles? That's the
Yeah.
running joke, that
Yeah. Oh,
he's going
yeah.
to be the
I
only
thought
Beatle alive when it's all said and done.
no, he's fantastic.
Did you ever get to see the Beatles at all before they broke up?
No. I guess they broke up in 69, 70. I was 4 or 5 years old. I was born in 1965. So
What's the first concert you remember ever getting to go see?
a band called April Wine at the Santa Monica Civic. But then I saw cover bands at parties playing David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust, or playing Led Zeppelin songs. And I was like, wow, So I guess backyard parties in Santa Monica, California.
But April Wine, wow, Canadian band.
Yeah.
Wow, I got to see April Wine with Ted Nugent
Oh,
and
cool.
Candlebox. And
Nice.
what a show, man. I mean, and this is like, you're talking about the 70s, I'm talking about the 90s.
Oh, wow.
So 20 some years later, them still playing music.
Yeah.
It's wild, when you think about the bands that are still playing music. Me and my wife were talking about it the other day, and I just got to go see Alice Cooper. It's the first show I got to see after the pandemic was Alice Cooper and Ace Frehley. And I was telling her, I said, Alice is 70 some years old and he plays for 2.5 hours straight,
Wow. Yeah.
Back in the 70s, Alice wasn't playing that long because Alice couldn't do it because he was drunk or
Yeah.
high or whatever. And now he's 70 some years old and just amazing live. And I was like, it's hard to believe how many bands are still, doing it, like the Rolling Stones.
Yeah. They're
Those
still
guys are
going.
in their 80s,
Yeah.
And I think Paul McCartney's fixing to start a new tour, and it's just amazing. Who is it in this day and time you'd love to go see live that you grew up with?
That's a good question. Oh, wow. You caught me off guard. I don't know. I mean, I respect all the stuff from the past, but for me to see somebody doing something from the past, right now I'm really into, I mean, I guess I'd like to go see Mike Watt,
Oh,
and
wow.
fortunately I'm going to play with him on December 15th, opening for him at the Casbah. And he calls me every morning and he's pushing me, John Coltrane on me, McCoy Tyner, these jazz players. And I guess I'm into, if I can see a band that takes their old music as a jumping off point and goes and does something new. That's why when I traded that Led Zeppelin record for the Ted Nugent, it was because they were trying to jump off and do Stairway to Heaven different than the recording. And I wasn't ready for it, Now that's all I can really tolerate at this point, is I need to see if they're going to do something from the past, how are they going to change it? How are they going to make it creative? Like, can they change the lyrics and the melodies around and the arrangements and go into improvisational jams? So that's what I'm into. I guess it would be a jazz person, but I can't think of a modern jazz person right now that
Now, do you remember the first time you ever performed live?
Yes, it was at a backyard party in Santa Monica, and there was a band called Adrenaline, and Tim Paul Mateer was the lead singer and guitar player for the band. He came and sang and played, and I was on second guitar, and I had my back towards the audience. And then when I heard them clapping afterwards, I turned around for the second song, and we did a couple of songs. And then after that, these guys go, "There's another party. Do you want to go play?" And I'll go, "Yeah, I'll be the lead," you know? And so me and the drummer and the bass player went to this other party, and they wanted to hear, like, you know, funk and Motown and stuff like that. And I was a rocker. And so I was like, let's do Black Magic Woman from Santana. So we did that, and we didn't even get through the song. They were booing, and they made us stop and leave the party. And it devastated the drummer and the bass player. And for me, I was like, okay, I experienced at the first party cheering and turning around in confidence. And then I experienced what the worst thing that could happen. I can handle this, because I wanted to be a big wave surfer, but I was too scared to do it, you know? And so I can get up on big stages and get booed and flop because I can handle it. So it was a huge thing for me. So that's why I keep kicking the can and doing things. I don't care about failing. I'll just keep trying, you know?
So did you ever become a big wave surfer?
No, I mean, I've surfed some waves. Now that they're getting towed into these giant waves, but I have surfed, gone on surf trips and surfed some pretty big waves for me, like on my Facebook page, personal page. On the, you know, there's your profile picture, and then the picture that's behind you, there's a picture of me surfing that my friend John Linson took of me in Sumatra on a wave that was pretty big, you know.
Would you think in almost 2022, that you would be where you are now? That you would be in such a iconic band that will probably go in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? You know, Porno for Pyros will probably be part of the Hall of Fame, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and be with somebody like Perry Farrell. I mean, you know, I remember the first time I heard Thank God Stealing by, you know, Jane's Addiction, you know, and it was unheard of for people to like have other side projects, you know. It was like, this was your project, you know. In the day, you know, back in the day, it's been said Metallica, Jason Newsted left Metallica because they wouldn't let him go and do another band. But you know, now everybody's got other bands, you know. There's singers that's got like 5
Perfect
bands, you
Circle
know.
with Tool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, you know, I mean,
Yeah. Well, I mean, we
so
should be artists. I mean, I guess it was like the marriage thing, you know. You're married and you can't have other lovers, you know. Well, same with a band. You're in a band and you can't do other things, and if you do, we got to break up. And so I think that's old hat, and now it's you can do other things, you know.
but would you think you would be here in 2022 where you are now?
No, I mean, I didn't think I would live past 27, you know. And so to be 56, it's a miracle. So
And you've had your past drug experiences, and
yeah,
you
yeah,
fought cancer, and we'll get to that in a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
I mean, how did you stumble upon being where you are? How did that come about for you with Perry Farrell and the whole thing?
Tenacity, just really getting into the guitar and playing and writing and performing. You know, I played Madame Wong's in Santa Monica every month for 8 years, and also the Troubadour. And we would go on skateboards up and down the boardwalk at Venice Beach and pass out flyers. There was no social media. There was no way to get the word out. You had to go out and hit the streets and hand out flyers to people. And we would just do it all month long to play one gig at the end of the month at the Troubadour. And then we do it again and again and again. And it did for 8 years. And, you know, we played the bars. We played bars and bars and bars and wanting to do it. And then I did recordings and wanting to record and finding people that own studios and people in studio schools like that were learning how to record, and I'd have them use me as guinea pigs. And then I made a demo tape with a song called Hypocrisies on it, and I gave it to my friend Greg Lampkin, who knew Perry and played it for him. And then we went on a surf trip together, and they liked my guitar solo on that, and then, you know, the rest was history.
Well, so that's how you became part of Porno for Pyros then.
Yeah, my friend Greg Lampkin set it up.
So you've always been a California person then.
Yes.
Is that where the origins of Porno for Pyros started? In
Yes.
Los Angeles,
Yes. Yeah, it was
California?
in Los Angeles. Perry had a house in Venice Beach. So we hung out there and wrote, and then we, during the riots, the Rodney King riots, we, we partied and did all that and participated in all that craziness and wrote the first record.
Isn't it wild that you mentioned the Rodney King riots, how much it changed our world?
Yeah.
But now, last year, we had to go through a pandemic. We had to go through riots after riots after riots, and how our world's changed in just that short amount of time.
Yeah, it's weird because I mean the one day I think it was on Facebook or something. I played a Porno for Pyro song that we wrote in 1992, called Black Girlfriend, and I sang and played a portion of it. And a friend that I grew up with, obviously he didn't hear my whole record. It's like, oh, Peter made it, with the song Pets or T-shirt, just only what they played on the radio. And this was an old song and I was just playing it and he went nuts on me. He goes, you and I are over, and blocked me, on Facebook and everything, because he thought I was writing a song for now, Black Lives Matter, Black Girlfriend, and it's just, and so it's like so crazy, like the world is so crazy, and it's just something I did 30 years ago, and I'm gonna still play it. I mean, it's a great song, and so it has nothing to do with today. It's 30 years ago.
But
And
that's the thing about how things have changed. I live in a small town in the middle of Kentucky. Okay,
cool.
people
My in-laws are from Kentucky and they're here right now visiting for the holidays.
We're at in Kentucky.
Doran, what part of Kentucky is Grandma and Grandpa from? I think Grandma, Grandpa. What part of Kentucky do you guys live in? Oh, I think they're walking the dogs. Sorry, I don't know.
It's okay.
Some part of Kentucky.
Anyway,
I haven't been there yet. They just moved there.
Oh well, that's cool. But anyway, I'd always, I do Facebook Lives. That's what I've been primarily done for for 5 years. And
Cool.
I made the remarks, all this gang violence and riots don't associate with me because where I live, I don't have that type of thing. And people got mad at me. And, if you were either Democrat or Republican, you had people jump off your Facebook list and say, we can't be friends with you. Or if you don't vax, we can't be friends with you. And it's like, it's been so weird. I'll be 50 next year.
Oh yeah. No, I sorry to interrupt you, but I'm in the same boat. People try to get me to jump on one side or the other. What I do is, the voting booths had curtains for a reason. The voting booths, when you go to vote, there's a curtain. In the old days, you used to go in and close the curtain, do your vote and come out. And it's like a private thing, and so I feel like I'm not, music to me, I don't use it as a vehicle for other things. I use it as a vehicle to just survive. Like if I don't do it, I'm dead. It's like I'm an artist to the core. And so I just only sing and write and play what I understand. And right now I'm trying to get really good at the guitar in terms of improvisation and jazz. And I'm doing this thing called Man Alone now, where it's just me and an acoustic guitar with no effects, no looper, no laptop, no tracks, no delay, no reverb, nothing. And it just island style. And to be able to play tunes as jumping off points and doing improvisation by myself. And so I have these goals, and I want to play like John Coltrane and McCoy Tyner, which are jazz people. That's enough. I don't have time to get into politics and the left, the right, blue, red, all that stuff. My point I was getting at is
why is it that it's so important for everybody else to dictate what you do? You know what I mean?
Y-
If I decide I want to be a Republican, why is it any of your
mm,
business? Why is it any of your
Yeah.
business? I think we live in a world where everybody tells everybody everything. It's like
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, half my family's left and half my family's right, and I love them all equally. It's cool. Just lay off of me, and I'll lay off you.
and I mean, to be in such a inspirational band like Porno for Pyros and the whole Lollapalooza, and I mean, let's face it, the first big show back after the pandemic was Lollapalooza
Yeah,
this year, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, there's going to be all kinds of dead people there because of the pandemic," but
yeah,
it was 100,000 happy people that came out of there, and very few of them got sick. How is
yeah,
that possible? I mean, how is that possible? Wow, and then you're like, oh my God, I can't believe we put that show on. And you hear so much that you're just like, it's almost like people don't watch the news anymore. People don't, there was a time when I remember when I was younger, my dad had to watch 6 o'clock news, and then watch the news at 6:30 or whatever.
yeah.
And now it's like, we don't do that.
No,
We don't do it. And um, were you at Lollapalooza this year?
no, I didn't go to Lollapalooza this year. I played at the
Mhm.
2020 version with Porno for Pyros. Um, we did a couple of songs the virtual one. So
Virtual one.
yeah.
Do you miss being out playing those big shows?
Well, I did Summerfest this year, and that was a big festival. I think it's the biggest festival in the world. So
That's
I
in
did do that.
Wisconsin, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and so I got to play that. Um, and I'm doing gigs. Yeah, no, I don't. Luckily, I don't miss anything. I just appreciate that I got to go and do it. And if we do Lollapalooza again, if Porno for Pyros gets together, if the band leader Perry decides, let's go out and do this, and we're going to do, my festivals, then great. And if we don't, great. I'm really just coming from a place of being grateful and just wanting to get better on the guitar and
Have
singing.
you always been like that? Have you always
No,
been that kind of person?
no.
What made you change? Was it when you had got cancer and
I think
stuff
it's
like
just
that?
everything. It's everything, from being, a full-fledged heroin addict to having a white light experience and getting clean and going through having money, not having money, just everything going all the things of life just make it
Hmm.
to where I'm grateful and experienced. I'm experienced. I grateful for my children, for my wife, my in-laws, my house, my pets, my sisters, my brother, my mom.
But it took
Um,
you a long time to get to
bands.
that point, huh?
Oh yeah, I was completely, living in pure anxiety, and I needed a needle and a spoon for relief. And now I just
How many years was that?
I've been sober 24 years.
24 years. Wow.
Yeah.
So there's a time. Now let's go back. You got cancer, right? During
Hmm.
pornos for pyro or porno for
Yeah.
pyros.
Yeah.
How'd that come about? How'd you find out about that?
All right, I'll get graphic about it. I was shooting up in a homeless man's van, heroin, and I overdosed. And while I was out, he squeezed my left testicle to make it so I wouldn't die. And then 3 days later, I felt it and it was flat like a pancake. And then it just grew into a grapefruit size really quickly. And then they did an emergency surgery and said, I have cancer. And then I had to do chemotherapy and everything, and had a vascular invasion. So it means it went into my blood, and I'm lucky to be alive.
I had the same experience. I had testicle cancer
Oh
and
wow. Oh, we're
and
brothers, survivor
survived.
brothers.
I survived
Cool.
it, and I didn't do any chemo. I was lucky I didn't have to do chemo. But I remember remember I wasn't on heroin and remember, but I remember that, you know, I'm just, you know, in the bathtub and looking at my wife going, what is going on? And that thing's
Mhm.
like that big around, you know, and you're like, what is going on? You know, and
Mm.
you go to the doctor and the doctor's like, oh yeah, we gotta take this out, you know? And I'm like, well, I ain't got no insurance, you know, or anything for this.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I
Oh,
don't, he's like, I don't care. He goes, you come Friday, I'll take it out. And he never charged me. He was
really? Wow.
that great of a
God
doctor
bless him.
that he was like, man, he goes, I'm so happy you came to me at this time. And to this day, his son's my proctologist now, you know?
Wow.
And yeah, I know that experience, you know. Some people say, well, that's just, you know, simple cancer, but there's people that, you know, it was hard, man. When you hear that word C, that C word, you go, am I going to die? Am I going to
Yeah.
live? You know, you probably went through the same thing. You're like,
Well, it was for me, it was just an excuse for people to leave me alone so I could just continue doing heroin. So it was like, oh, he's dying, just leave him alone, you know, because everybody was trying to stop me from doing that. So I had a different experience
Mhm.
where, but yeah, but the out of body white light experience wiped everything out, and
And
now I'm in peace.
how many years, I don't mean to dredge up things,
No, no, no.
but I feel like people need to hear stories like this.
Okay.
What got you on heroin and how long were you on it?
Um, I always suffered from a mild anxiety, and I wanted to do music, and I idolized Charlie Parker um, for his improvisation, Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, Keith Richards,
Mhm.
and heroin was all part of their thing. And then Jane's Addiction, Perry and heroin, and the song Whores, and I just like, sign me up, and so I tried at first smoking it and stuff, and then Perry was the first person to inject me with a needle, and I just loved it, and it got rid of the fear and the pain, and it just made me feel comfortable, and so I didn't have a bad upbringing or anything. My parents were wonderful, and I was raised in Santa Monica, first generation, born from Sicily, and I just wanted to be like my heroes, and they were making great music, and I thought you had to do heroin to make great music. So, but then when I did it, I realized it felt really good. But it started with alcohol too, like loved Leonard Skinner and drinking whiskey rock and roller. So I wanted
Mhm.
to be like them. So I started drinking whiskey, pretending drinking whiskey, and pretend listening to their music with a tennis racket, and pretending, playing Sweet Home Alabama and all
Yeah.
that stuff, and whiskey rock and roller and give me three steps. And I just thought they were badass, tough dudes. And so, um, but then when I really tried whiskey, it gave me courage to meet girls and to fight and stuff like that. And so I just used alcohol and drugs for courage and peace after wanting to try it because my heroes did it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, you know, I was always the Nikki Sixx fan, and he did the heroin, and you know, I thought it was cool. And then as I got older, I decided, you know, heroin. I mean, I've been on those things too, man. You know, I've been a drunk, and you know, the guy that snorted coke back in the day, and you know, things like that. And if we all can come out the other side a better person, then you know, hey, you know, some of us don't get that chance. You know, I mean, the perfect example is, you know, you work with Scott Whalen
Mm-hmm.
from Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah.
You know, in the end, you know, he didn't make it out at the end. You know, and
Well, the thing is that
it's a
he's just
sin.
like we're race car drivers. I'm not against drugs or alcohol or partying. I just can't do it. And moderation is the key. If you can do things in moderation, then, I don't judge anything. I'm not for it or against it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just couldn't do it in moderation. And even if you do things in moderation, like a race car driver, I overdosed all over the world. I just got found. he overdosed and wasn't found. And so it's like, sometimes we're all race car drivers and we crash and someone dies, so that's how I look at it. I don't look at it like, oh, it was just, I got lucky and didn't crash. Or if I crashed, someone got me out of the flames. Someone didn't go fast enough to get him out of the flames. That's how I look at it. And I don't, I just can't smoke crack like a gentleman. I can't shoot heroin like, in peace.
Yeah.
I go nuts and trade in everything, and I become an instant liar thief. So I'm allergic to it. So, but I know people that do it, and they do it around me, and I serve drinks. I'm totally cool with it. I just can't do it. I don't have the talent to control and enjoy my drinking and drug use.
How did the thing with Scott Whalen come up anyway? How did you end up in working?
We
with
were both
Whalen?
getting sober at the same time, and he liked what I did with Porno for Pyros, and I liked his voice, and so we did the 12-bar blues solo record. And then there was some management that got in the way of things, and then he went to jail, and so it wasn't, we weren't able to tour it and do it. We had plans, but
was he? Do you have a great story about Scott that you could tell everybody?
I just think he's a sweetheart. He's creative, and it was an honor to play live gigs with him and to record on his 12-bar blues record. And I thought that we started a bond from sobriety, and then I stayed sober and he didn't. So it was weird in terms of, I didn't judge it or anything, but I mean, now, after my friends, I had two, Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell, where depression, like, there's people, I became a certified recovery coach, and I have 8 models of treatment, and I believe in moderation therapy, and I don't believe one way or the other. It's like you go either totally abstinent with a program or you're totally out there. I think that there's a bunch of ways to do it. Like if your problem is drinking, then stop drinking and smoke weed, and you can have a nice life smoking weed and taking sleeping pills or whatever, like figure out what it is. And if it all just equals to failure like me, then you can do a program and abstinence, but you should try everything else first, And so a lot of people, they lose their dignity, gets taken away because they're not a level 4 alcoholic, a stage 4. They have a problem with something else, or they've been molested and they're using that, and it's not alcoholism, it's a cover up for something else that they're not getting diagnosed for, and then they end up killing themselves.
But isn't it hard? Like you mentioned Chester, and you mentioned Chris Cornell. Isn't it hard when you know guys like that personally?
Yeah, well, that's what drove me. That's what
I'm saying isn't it hard for you when you know people like that and you don't know what they're going through?
Well, that's why I became a certified recovery coach, and I was getting paid to do it, and then now I just do it for free. Whoever calls me, I'll help them for free. But yeah, it's hard. That's what drove me to go to the school and pass all the tests and become that. And I do it every morning. I call someone, there's someone who calls me every day, and like 4 people call me every day. And we do unity meetings, and I help them, and it helps me. And just a place to be honest, And yeah, if I would have known now what, then if I would have been able to help those guys, but now I know what to do for people that aren't real alcoholics, and they're just trying to get relief from something that was traumatic.
Why is it that when you're in the spotlight, a rock star, a movie star, whatever, you're so tormented? I mean, I don't understand that. I always wanted to be famous. I always wanted to be somebody that people knew. But then you have these people that, I go back to Nikki Sixx, at the peak of Motley Crue's career, this guy's doing heroin in the closet, seeing little green men on Christmas, which me, I didn't know that, you know, I was just, you know, a teenager when this all happened because we didn't have the internet, you know, we had Middle Age Magazine or whatever that told us 6 months later about stuff. So my thing is, why is it as a famous person, people are so tormented when they have the whole world?
Well, I mean, what's lucky about me is I look at myself as a blue collar musician who does sessions and plays, you know, to pay the bills. And I was, you know, Porno for Pyros was the biggest thing that I actually wrote for and played in. The biggest gig I've done is was a couple of years ago, the Video Game Awards. You know, it had 30 live stream viewers, 30 million live stream viewers
Wow.
for a video game called it was all the video games at the awards, but Smash Brothers
Mario.
was big. Yeah, it's Mario Smash Brothers or whatever it is. It's got a you know, we're playing with an orchestra and there's explosions and everything. It was done at the same theater that they do American Idol, and American Idol's biggest night is like 11 million, and that was like 30 million. And my kids never said anything about my past or anything like Lollapaloozas or Glastonbury or Woodstock. But when I did this thing, they were really excited because it was modern and something that they relate to.
And they're like, oh, he's just our dad. But then you start talking
Yeah,
about video games, it's like,
yeah,
oh my
yeah,
God, my dad played in front of 30 million people. You know,
yeah,
not to mention he played the second Woodstock of all time, where
yeah,
there was half a million people all the time there, you know? I
yeah.
mean, you were younger then. I bet that was a blast, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, it was
Hmm.
definitely. I was. It was what 28 years ago.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, 28 years ago. So to be, you know, to fly in a helicopter and wear a $2,000 sharkskin suit and to play between Bob Dylan and the Allman Brothers. I mean, I walked on stage. You know, they had the stage where they turn around and you're setting up behind the act that's playing, and
Mhm.
then the stage turns around when you come out. And you know, and I was, you know, everything was set up, and I'm looking around the corner and watching um, the Allman Brothers play, and I think the final song was "Tied to the Whipping Post," and just going, "Wow!" And then the stage turn around, and then we play, and then Bob Dylan's setting up behind us, and then the stage turns around, and then Bob Dylan comes out. You know, so for me, it was huge. You know, it was like I made it. I'm playing with my idols, and I remember running over to the other stage where Carlos Santana was about to go on, and asked him to bless my pick. So he took my pick and he blessed it, and then I went and played. So you know, I
What
remember that.
experience, man.
Yeah,
You,
it was great.
did you you got to tour Japan, I guess, too, right?
Yes, yes, yeah.
How was it over there?
Oh, it was a blast. And, you know, we toured on the bullet train, and the fans were really fun, and it was cool.
Do you think what's missing from music today is MTV and things like that? Because Porno for Pyros was a big MTV band. I mean, it was like you all were all over MTV, you know? If it wasn't you all out doing this or you out doing that, I remember it vaguely in my head, you know, because you had the alternative show that was on MTV, so you all did interviews and stuff on there. Do you think that the generation now is missing the aspect of music with MTV and music videos on MTV?
No, I think that that was great at the time, and that's all we had. Now we have these phones. You know, I'm sitting here on my phone
Yeah.
doing this Zoom with these headphones on. You know, and I Twitch is incredible. Yeah, I go on Twitch every day and just look at their live streams, and I, you know, and it's like MTV to me, you know. Yeah, it's video game oriented, but there's music still there, and then there's TikTok and watching. Yeah, yeah, it's girls dancing and lip syncing, but you get to hear the music there. You get to hear what the music they're picking to do that. It's mostly hip hop, bad boy music or bad girl music, you know, and you know it's a place to be naughty, and so I'm open to wherever it is. And
My
but
vice is YouTube. I'm a I'm a YouTube guy. I have to watch
oh,
certain
I watch YouTube
I
constantly.
have
I
to
love
watch certain
YouTube.
people on YouTube, and
Yeah,
the other day I was watching it and it's like, holy crap, there's a new Kid Rock video. And I'm
yeah.
like, so I've turned on the Kid Rock video. I'm like, I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be this weak ass Kid Rock stuff we've had over the last few years. And it's like, holy crap, it transformed me back to, the very first Kid Rock album, the new
No.
song.
I mean, I love YouTube. I watch YouTube the most. I mean, that's where I go to get all my jazz um, videos and instructional things on guitar. And if I want to watch a documentary on dogs, I'll just punch in dogs documentary. And, I think YouTube's
It
fantastic.
comes up anything you want.
Yeah, anything you want.
So let's talk a little bit about your new project. You have this
Okay.
new project with paintings. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, the director, writer, producer, Douglas Kaplan, he we had done a thing called All Edge Music together with his wife, Mary McGinnis, and we wanted to, make music for content, do live shows and stuff. And he had a film department called All Edge Films, and he was making other people's projects, like their ideas, and supporting and producing other directors and projects. And this was completely his idea, Modern American Artists. He wrote it, he directed it, he produced it. And I just love Doug and his talent and his personality. And he just basically directed me being me. And he appreciated that I went and played for the troops in the Middle East. And so we tied that in with finding a person who had served, and he was a painter. He's a painter, an incredible painter named Michael Gorman. And he was the first person we filmed painting while I played and talked. And we talked together and jammed. And then Alice Asmer, who just passed away recently, is an incredible, huge, long career of painting. And I played music while she painted, and we interviewed each other. And it was a collaboration of sonic art with visual art. And Doug tied it all together with an interesting, entertaining format. He would set things up, and then I would accidentally run into things and do things that it wasn't scripted, so it was just me being me, but he had plans for things to happen and react. And so it was a lot of fun. I'm really proud of it. We won a lot of awards, and I'm grateful that it was made, and I'm excited for people to see it.
Now, when is that all supposed to be coming out on digital and DVD and all that?
That's a question for Douglas, because he also manages the talent in his project. So he wears like 5 hats. He's the financer, the producer, the director, the writer, and he manages the talent that's in it. And so he knows all of that stuff. I'm just here to back him,
And that's all, and that's coming out on Bayview Entertainment.
Yes.
Which is a great new company. They're not new, but they're a new company for me that I've found over the last week or so. So I'm excited for what's going to happen with me and Bayview and all that in the future.
Very cool. I am as well.
And it's great that you're like I said, that you were that few that come out the other end from all the things you went through in your life, be it like you said, drugs or rape or alcohol or whatever it is. I mean, it's amazing that you came out the other end and you're able to celebrate Thanksgiving with your family.
Yes.
Some of them from Kentucky.
Yeah, and my in-laws are from Kentucky. So
so
I relate to you.
Are you excited to maybe come to Kentucky? Have you never?
I would love to. Yes.
Have you never actually played the state of Kentucky before?
I can't tell you if I have or not with Porno for Pyros. I can't remember. I feel bad because I remember like major things, but we did tour. We did go on a bus and go through the United States. So
uh, so
I'm
you
sure we
so you
played
did
Louisville.
so you did actually get to be on a bus and that whole experience,
Yes.
huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is Perry pretty fun to hang out with and deal
Oh
with?
yeah. Oh yeah. Yes.
How was it?
Great for.
Let me ask you this: you got to have Dave Navarro play with you a little bit, right? Didn't he
Yes.
do?
Yes. Yeah.
How is he now? I mean, to
He's
me,
a sweetheart.
he
Really good.
seems like the rock star of all rock stars to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
When you think of rock stars, you think of Lemmy and Dave Navarro for some reason. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but you know, he actually played on some of the Porno for Pyro stuff, right?
Yeah, he came in on the second album and he played on a song called Freeway on one song.
Do you think? Did you?
And also we did a Howard Stern song for his movie Private Parts, and him and I both played guitar on that song.
Oh wow! Is there anybody that you have not met that you want to meet?
Um I mean it would be an honor to meet Jimmy Page before he passes, just to give a nod, and it would be cool to meet Keith Richards and give a nod. I guess I mean, Peter Frampton, all of them. All of the people that I haven't met that were a huge influence. It'd be an honor to meet them and just put my head down and give them a nod. I don't want to bug anybody, but I'm still a fan.
Is it wild being in your position and you have fans that clamor to to get autographs or whatever, but then you become fanboy too when it comes to people? Is that wild for you to look back and go, oh wow, well I'd like to meet this person? And does it make you think that those people, some people are really abrasive. Fans can be abrasive, you know what I mean? You can be at your eating dinner with your family or whatever the case may be. And how is that aspect for you as far as, you know, fans and them wanting autographs and things compared
Well,
to the
the
way
thing
that
is, I get what you're going to. The thing is that I guess fortunate for me, like when you're part of something that's a hurrah, like a circus coming into town. When I'm playing with Porno for Pyros or doing that, that was then and it was happening. Um, but then the next circus comes in town and then they feed upon that. And so I have not continued to stay in that game. It's not like because I didn't want to or because I couldn't. It's just because that's not in my cards. I'm a blue collar musician. Like if I was to ask you, a big band, who's the guitar player for the Arctic Monkeys? Who's the guitar player for, you name any big band, most people don't know who the guitar player is. So, but when you're part of that band, you come off stage and they're there, they know you. And so it, I don't know what it's like to be a Britney Spears or a Justin Timberlake or somebody who's a front person with that name,
yeah, but
pop star.
what's strange about that is, I grew up in the 80s and you could give me a band and I could tell you every member in them from Enough's Enough to Pretty Boy Floyd,
Yeah.
So to me, that's kind of weird when, you have kids in this day and time who don't know who all the members of, say, uh, Five Finger Death Punch is. You know what I mean?
Well, they know the name. They
When I
know
was
the
growing
name
up,
and they know the song, and that's enough. Well, times are different. Like you used to get an album, you would sit there and look at the back of the album and you'd see the faces with the names underneath them while you're listening to it on a record player.
mhm.
Now we have phones that have video cameras, record players, uh, you know, concerts. You can go to it's a television,
Yeah,
it has everything. Um, and so and it's a telephone, you had to go to your wall to get on on a phone. And so it's it, DJs like I was really my band Lance Herbstrong is two DJs and me on guitar from 2010 till about 2018. That's all I was doing. I wasn't writing songs. We were doing mashups and it was jamming over it and touring the world. And it was an incredible experience. And it was a completely new genre, new fan base. The people from Porno for Pyros, they weren't into it, but that's what I wasn't doing. I was just trying to do something new and something cutting edge and modern. And I got really into DJing and laptops and stuff. And when people come to see a DJ, they don't sit there and stare. They're just dancing and not paying attention, and they're looking at themselves. And it's what they hear. It doesn't matter how it's being done, if it's karaoke, if it's just the guy spinning tracks and bending a little bit of sound. They just want to hear something great and tight and modern, and they dance and they look at each other and they all dress in cosplay. And so it's just different, where in the older days there was the rock stars and everyone just stared at the rock stars and cheered for them. And that's still happening, but there's the whole different thing. And so now I feel like I've come around full circle and I'm just doing an acoustic thing, Man Alone, where I just play and sing.
You have any shows coming up?
Yeah, December 15th at the Casbah in San Diego. I'm going to be opening up for Mike Watt. It's for it's a benefit concert for the band, the Spice Pistols. Their house burned down with all their gear and their touring band. Everything got burned down. So it's a fundraiser to get money for them to be able to get equipment again so they can play again.
Well, isn't that nice? Well,
yeah.
Where can people reach out to you as far as if they want to get something signed or anything? Like, do you have a Facebook or a website?
Yeah, I mean, you just Google Peter DiStefano or PeterDiStefano.com. My telephone number's on there. I'm very accessible, and my Instagram. But I guess just to keep it simple, PeterDiStefano.com has links and my telephone number there, and anyone can call me. I'm not, like I said, Justin Timberlake or Britney Spears. I'm just a blue collar musician who had a #1 hit with a song called Pets in 1993. It's 2022. I'm 56. I'm totally approachable. And if there is any kind of, direct messages or people posting things, you're an underrated guitar player. And I really appreciate it, because I'm not in it full time. I'm not, I'm not U2. I'm not Mick Jagger. I'm just the blue collar guitar player from a band called Porno for Pyros, and that had its biggest hit in 1993. I know I'm pretty humble. I understand where things are. There's people that still, go out the back door and get in limos and stuff like that, and think that, they are where they were in the 70s. I don't want to be that guy. I'm just a blue collar musician, and I have some hardcore fans. And I'm grateful for them. With the group page, I have a tattoo group page called Peter DiStefano's Tattoo Club. And there's people that have this tattoo right here.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like my solo logo. I took a mashup of the Porno for Pyros tattoo with the Mongols Motorcycle Gang and Tupac's bandana from the rapper Tupac, and did a mashup as a joke. And I said, whoever gets this tattoo, I'll come play a free show for you. Well, people started getting the tattoo all over the world. So I took it down, and the guy who got the first tattoo got upset and said pizza fraud. So I had to make this group page and say, I back you in love, pain, and war, whoever gets this. And so now there's people all over the world that have the tattoo, and we're like a club of, and we support each other emotionally. And the guy's house who burned down has a tattoo too. So I'm going to go and play for him. And it's sort of like being there for the guys, but I can't go to England. I can't go to Australia. I can't do that. And so it was a mistake that turned out to be cool. So there is a little underground cult thing happening with me, but that's because of the history of my music with Porno for Pyros and my solo music.
Do you think you ever do another film again?
Yeah. If Doug would give me the opportunity, I'd love to do it again. Yes, definitely.
Well, let me tell you, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for taking your time on a Sunday to talk to me,
Oh,
and
thank you, Mike.
I really appreciate it. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we go?
Happy Thanksgiving.